Walking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today is no exception. We're talking about the Princess episode, obviously. But before we begin, we had just finished filming today our interview with Peggy Schott, aka Tess from Fear the Walking Dead. We will have the unedited footage for that interview up on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. That's right here. Head over there, follow us there, so you can get future updates, behind the scenes updates, of course. We publicized this one, obviously, because we wanted people to have the opportunity to join us in the audience as we recorded. The finished product will be available publicly, obviously, because we want people to see it. But we gave people the opportunity to see all the technical gaffes and the setup and everything like that. So follow us there. You will be alerted to when the unedited version of this interview actually goes up. And also, in the premiere for this episode, if you happen to actually buy us a coffee to get that unedited interview, your actual coffee donation will show up during this stream, and it'll be there forever on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram even. So why don't you do that? I don't know. Why wouldn't you? Leave your mark on a creator's video forever and ever. In the meantime, I'd like you to enjoy this episode. We do offer our ringtone during the episode. I figured I'd offer it now. We actually have a ringtone, the music of which you'll hear in just a moment. It loops nicely on your phones for when people are calling you. Kind of loops right back into the beginning. It is available for free if you've bought us a coffee in the last 30 days, or if you subscribe to a coffee a month. We're not going to stop you. But if you happen to not be subscribed to us, if you buy it in our coffee shop at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, you will get 30 days of access to our supporter back content for free. So enjoy this episode. We had a lot of fun making it. We didn't think we'd have much to talk about, but we came up with some really funny scenarios, but we talked about some serious subjects too. So enjoy this episode. I'll see you soon in the chat if you are watching live. If you're not, enjoy the chat on the side as the episode premieres. And in the meantime, hope you have a lovely weekend, and we'll be seeing you soon covering Diverged. Hopefully we'll crank this out a lot sooner than a Friday, but I'm very happy to see you guys here on a Friday evening, and see you in the chat. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Today we're here to talk about the fourth in a set of 6 bonus episodes of The Walking Dead, Season 10, called Splinter! Other than that, it's basically the Princess episode. It's the Paula Lazaro episode,
yes,
essentially.
It is.
Essentially. Remember when we thought Paula was Brazilian? Such good times. I did, at least.
Did you? Oh.
Right. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
because I put her name in Google Translate, and then it auto detected it as Brazilian.
Oh.
So and then it wrote, and remember we played it, and it said Paula Lazaro.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's in my head. Paula Lazaro.
Is it Lazaro or Lazaro?
Lazaro. That's why the accent's there. Oh,
Lazaro.
Speaking of that, though, for some reason, I've been seeing more and more like microblogging YouTubers or Instagrammers. Like, okay, like Douglas Atherton, he's WD artist or something like that on Twitter or on Instagram. It'll be on the screen. Not like he's doing it badly, but like. But then there's the Jamie Jo show. She pronounced Paula's name wrong. She said like Paula.
Oh.
Almost nobody can pronounce her name right.
Paula.
Which is very interesting to me. Yeah. Paula Lazaro.
Paula. She has the kind of name like you have to say it with an accent. You cannot Americanize it. Paula.
It doesn't help that like I go on these like tears, like watching Brazilian television shows. Like I just started, Nisa's going to be happy to hear this. I just started Invisible City. Cidade Invisível. I think I pronounced that wrong. Yeah, she's laughing right now.
Say it again.
No, I'm not saying it again. I'm not saying it again. Play the tape back, Sam. Like, no.
Play it again.
No. Cidad Invisible. I think it's Cidad Invisible. But I know I'm not saying it exactly. Oh. I did say it right? Okay, fine.
Close. So she said very close.
The problem is that, like, yeah, I know. But it gets to a point, like, I watch so much Brazilian television. Like, I watched 3%. I watched, I watched a whole string at once.
I love 3%.
I watched that show that you told me about. What was it called? Nobody's Watching?
Nobody's Watching. Yes!
Yeah, I watched that.
So I love that one.
I watched a whole bunch. Oh, Evelyn liked it too. But the thing is, like, I started dreaming in Portuguese. Right? And so like, I literally had to stop. I'm like, I'm having dreams. Por favor. And like, I'm thinking in my head, I gave myself like a 3-month break or something, a 2-month break. So now I'm getting into it again. Oh, but like, it's so funny because I will pronounce no to Nisa in how it's spelled in Portuguese. I'll say N-A-O, like N with an accent on it. O. Now. No, Gabriel. Now, Gabriel. Now. Bottom line, I can't help but like almost say it like a Brazilian would. Like it's in my head now. I can't escape it.
Yeah.
Now, Nisa. Now. It's like now, but now. You have to kind of get that W at the end. Now. But you don't say it like I do.
That's like what's I'm trying to read. I'm trying to read Nisa's phonetic spelling here. Now gosto. Anyway,
we're learning Portuguese with Nisa.
I love it.
Now Rachael. Rachael. Rafael. No, and by the way, ours sometimes will be with an H, kind of like a Rafael.
Speaking of which, I need to back up to Sharon Day's comment. I thought Splinter was going to be about a really big rat that trains our group to fight evil in the sewers of Ohio. You know, Hugh McAngelo and Rafazekiel. Oh gosh.
Paula Langelo.
Eugene Atello.
Eugenardo.
Eugenardo. Atello.
Oh, okay.
He's the brains. Donatello.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But I just wanted to say Nardo at the end of Eugene, like, because it just sounds funnier. Eugene Nardo.
It does flow nicely. I totally agree, Nisa. I mean, I was so stoked for Princess to join the episode, and this episode just made me love her even more. She says this episode made me love Princess even more, I gotta say. I mean, I met Princess in the comic books, obviously, and comic versus screen is very different, and I love that because the show is able to give Princess so much of a deeper character, you know what I mean, with her PTSD and the anxiety and, you know, everything that we see her dealing with in this episode. It was shown perfectly. If anyone's ever been in an anxious state, like watching what was happening to her, the muffled sounds, the shaky vision, like that, if you've been in an anxious state, you know what that feels like. And I feel like they did such an amazing job displaying that for the audience, like going through this with Princess.
To further the point, like Nisa actually just included, prematurely probably, but let's just get into it anyway. But like the entire quote, and I think there's something interesting about including that entire quote now.
Yeah.
There's a little of a duh moment there, right? Like obviously you could guess that there's some of that is going on already. I'm not crazy if that's what you're thinking. I mean, there's the ADHD, the anxiety, the PTSD, the depression, the crushing loneliness, and the active imagination that helps me cope with all that. But like, maybe that's the only sane response to an insane world. Now, fine. I think it's necessary, though, that she said that out loud. One could easily say, why are you spelling it out? But no, it's actually important to spell it out because one could easily say, what was all that about? What was all that about?
Yeah.
Can you attribute that to one thing? Could you attribute that to two things? It's all of it. Some of the things she says here is defined in this episode. Like we get some of this information, mostly on the PTSD side of things, some of it on the anxiety tick. ADHD, not quite sure, probably because it looks like she keeps picking at the splinter, hyper focusing and then focusing on something else. Depression, yeah, there's a lot of that going on too. But for people who don't really know what that looks like, it has to be spelled out. It's not so easy to know what those things are unless somebody just says it. And then it gives a whole bunch of context of what the heck you just saw, because overactive imagination that helps me cope with all this is what we just saw for 10 years, which is interesting because it does make me think of Find Me, how two people with two different emotional backgrounds dealing with these things in different ways deals with the span of 7 years, 10 years, into the apocalypse, right? Daryl, it makes me think what he did or had to do, what he's imagining, what he's not imagining, how he dealt with that, all of that. I don't know if he has all of that. I don't think he has anxiety per se. I don't think he has, but I think he does have a little PTSD, obviously. Talking about the saviors, talking about his brother, shit he dealt with growing up. Does he have depression? A little bit, probably. I could see him developing that. But the bottom line is, it does make me think of that. There is a couple of poked holes in the whole Leia is imaginary thing, or Leah. It's Leah, right? The opening minutes clips, I think, to Diverged, where Daryl gives Carol the Swiss Army knife. So that pokes a little bit of a hole in the Leia's imaginary thing.
Right.
However, one thing that we didn't do, and it was the most duh thing when I looked at it, I'm like, have you noticed that Leah, first of all, Leah is spelled Leah. I'm sorry. Every time I've spelled Leah, I've pronounced it, because I'm Jewish. Anytime there's an H at the end of a word like that, like a name like that, it's usually a Jewish name. But it's not pronounced as Leia. It's pronounced Leah, right? Then I started thinking, wait a minute, what is Leah? Wait, hold on. Leah spelled backwards is hail. Right, but if you do an anagram of the word Leah, what does that spell? Heal, right? You take those letters and rearrange it, heal. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't think of that until just last night. I was talking to Connie again, free from the cocoon, because she was like excited for the next episode. I'm like, wait, hold on a second, because she was talking about the Swiss Army knife, and I was like, hey, hold on a sec. Leah's name backwards, not really, is spelled heal, and it made me think a little bit. Now I'm like back on that track of like, is she imaginary? I don't know. Now I don't know again.
If Leah is imaginary, we could easily say that Daryl picked that knife up off of any walker that he's come across.
Well, I came up with a cockamamie theory. Remember the story that Leah tells about Matthew, her son, quote unquote, right? Mm-hmm. She says the moment they got to the steps of this cabin, she had found out he'd been bit and basically had to bury him the next day or whatever it is, or however long it was. What if the story is that Leah is real? She's being attacked by a walker when he finds her. She is bit, and he never really gets to know her, has to bury her, and then he makes up a life with her, right? Mm-hmm. Think about it. It's the same story as Matthew, except he's the one making it up, and he's the one coming back to the cabin every once in a while just to kind of make up this life that they led together. Oh, is that what you said? It was. Please tell me it's not what you said at the time, because otherwise I feel really bad. I feel very bad. I mansplained to Nisa.
Well, no, Nisa's... No, I remember her bringing that up, saying like, what if she died right away and he had to bury her, and he just imagined all of it. Yeah, we had talked about that last time.
Did I say that? Did I say it out loud? I hope so.
Yeah, you even pointed out that Nisa said it.
Listen, I say a lot of things. You know, that's we're gonna keep that in. Nisa, that's where I got the idea. I got it from you. Credit where credit is due. You must have had an impact on me. Meanwhile, I'm talking to Connie. I'm like, wait, I just had this great idea.
Just now. It just hit me right now.
What if? It's the parallel, though, right? It's like the parallel of Matthew.
Yeah.
Having that reflect. Okay, whatever. Nisa said it. She said, at least you agree it's possible. I'm like, sometimes it takes me a while to come around on something.
Yeah.
It's not a stubbornness. Well, maybe it is a stubbornness thing. I think it's one of those things where I like to integrate things slowly. Like sometimes it takes a little while to digest.
I'm open to the possibility that Leah does not exist, that Daryl made her up. Now, I'm more of the mind that she is real, that this did happen, but man, I just can't be like, no, she's totally 100% real, but she might not be.
Between the facial features and the...
Yeah, almost every part of her backstory, her character is like drawn from someone that Daryl knows, someone else that Daryl knows.
The mishmash of Matthew. Of Leah's story, right? That's why we're so hyper focused on whether she was real or not. is that it does seem very too similar, scarily similar. Yeah. But I can't imagine but on the tick on the other corner, I can't imagine other people's stories aren't the same. It seems like a lot of this, Fear the Walking Dead is the same. It's all about the found family rather than the actual family, right?
True.
So
very true.
It's not too far off. It's not, and it can't be all that different. Speaking of backstories, though, one thing we actually missed telling you all about one more last week's episode was that Father Gabriel's intro was hot. So hot. It's not only the fact that he did the voiceover, it's the fact that he does the voiceover and then the quote from the episode. It just goes hand in hand. It's just so good. It's like, God's house is a tower. He said this one thing and then it went straight, God's house is a tower. Chick, chick.
And like with the righteous, the righteous shall be saved or something like that. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I say that because I say that only because I didn't want to dwell on the fact that it was hot. Like just look, as uncomfortable as I make myself for your enjoyment, everybody, I say this to move on to the intro for this episode because it does seem character focused. Like Daryl, the Find Me episode had Daryl opening up, right? And then last week was Father Gabriel opening up. Now it's Eugene, which is interesting given the fact that this is a princess episode. It's still Eugene, and it is funny. It's not like haha laugh, belly laugh funny, but it's just like, man, okay.
Well,
Josh McDermott.
I like that it was Eugene because it reminds us that he made this connection with this group.
Yeah.
He is the reason we're here. So I like that they picked him to do the voiceover, even though it was a princess episode. Yeah.
And it actually kind of makes sense because it kind of wants to set you up in some way to make you think, oh, this is real. This whole scenario is real. Like, oh, we're moving into a group episode. We'll finally find out what happens because we've been waiting.
Right.
Yeah. We've been waiting.
When we see Eugene again, we instantly believe it's him. We have no reason to question that she's imagining this because we heard him at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, it's like a double trick.
Because he started this whole thing, communication with Stephanie and all that stuff, which, man, now I have to wonder. I really have to wonder. I mean, is it for us? Like, is that it? Like, is that all we're going to see of the Commonwealth? And I'm going to say yes. Because we got 2 episodes left. Here's Negan is going to take a very long time. It's going to consume the entire episode. That's the last one. Wait, all we've got is Diverged next week. And a lot of that takes place in Alexandria. So we're not going to see the Commonwealth. We're not going to see Gabe's death, which is definitely happening.
Right. Just prepping yourself now.
Right. Just so everybody knows also, yeah, we just said something about a character that nobody probably even knows. Well, some people do know about. Mercer, right?
Mercer.
This was, now he had revealed himself, the actor had revealed that he was playing the part weeks ago. But like all of a sudden, The Walking Dead finally announces Michael James Shaw. Hold on. I just saw that he has a SoundCloud. If you want to go to Mercer's SoundCloud account, that's MJ Shaw Nuff. MJ Shaw Nuff. Like, remember,
Shaw
who's
Nuff.
the Master? The Last Dragon, 1985.
Yes. Yeah.
I still love watching that movie. So yeah, MJ Shaw, SHAWNUFF on SoundCloud.
So does he...
And obviously his Instagram. It does not hurt that he's a beautiful man. So anyway, Mercer is a character from the comics, obviously from the Commonwealth. He wears a slightly different Commonwealth armor. He looks absolutely badass. To say that I have limited comics knowledge is to say the least. I'm just going to say that right now. But yeah, he's coming. And he looks absolutely ridiculous in the comics. And I think he looks absolutely ridiculous in his Instagram right now. Looks...
He's ripped.
Oh, look at my shirt off. I'm going to
scroll. People still say that?
I'm scrolling pictures on the screen right now of him with his shirt off. It's post-production, right? So Shardy says, to tie in with Leah's imaginary, if you equate Princess equals Daryl attacked Negan and caused Glenn's death. Princess attacked a soldier and caused Yumiko to be hurt. Princess's hallucinations could equal Daryl hallucinating Leah. I guess this is kind of what I was referring to, PTSD, 10-year delusions, 7-year delusions, plus PTSD.
Oh. The only thing that I question with Daryl and Leah is Daryl like still imagining her? Like, is he still imagining that she's out in the world somewhere, or does he know himself the truth?
Well, he's not going to know until he busts the bubble. If it is not real, you know what I mean?
Right. So,
crazy people don't know they're crazy is the axiom.
Right. So he's, in order for this to work, he's still in the delusion that Leah's out in the world someplace. Because otherwise, if he knows that Leah's dead, I think he would have told Carol she died. But if he believes she's still alive, then he's still hallucinating.
I mean, I don't know about still hallucinating, but there must have been something that got him to stop, but still believe in the fantasy, right? That it happened. Okay, put it this way. Have you ever made up a story or like twisted a fact in a twisted
That's
a fact?
That's what I was looking for.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Still in denial.
So Nisa's saying he's still in denial, but like, have you ever told a story and salt and peppered it, and then you've told it over and over again after having when I say salt and pepper, this is what I refer to my dad's stories. He'll tell you the truth, but he'll add a little something extra or exaggerate a fact. That's what we call salt and peppering a story, right? But when you've done it so many times, the salting and peppering gets bigger and bigger, and so to the point where you believe all the salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Where almost the salt and pepper takes over for the story. So this is the thing. I think Daryl made up something for him in his own mind, unconsciously, about Leah. And when you go on with it for so long, you actually believe it's real. And you make it grander and grander over the years. And that one thing that you buried is all of a sudden completely gone. Like that one fact that you may have been able to come out from underneath is now buried by all the mistruths you told yourself, you know? To the point where you almost don't know what you've told other people. I think we all have a version of that, but when you talk about years and you talk about isolation.
Yeah, but after you and I figured out the math, you know, it was, let's say, less than 2 years between Leah going missing and Carol coming back for Daryl and taking him back to Hilltop. Less than 2 years. So Carol's really the only person he probably talked to about Leah at all. I'm trying to, like, be in the corner of she doesn't exist, but I just feel like there's too many things that don't make sense to me still.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, yeah, because, I mean, we're missing a lot of facts.
Yeah.
It's just enough information, right? How can you tell about a relationship over the course of so many years? Yeah. You know, in a single episode like this, these bonus episodes, in a single one. It's impossible. Yeah. But getting back to this episode, it's really easy to slip back into. It's really easy because your mind is still processing. Something's off. Something's not right here. Where is this woman? And
it felt like that in this episode, except we actually got an answer by the end. Like, we knew what was going on. We didn't get that closure in Find Me.
Which almost is striking, too, because it goes back to Princess's character, like you said. In the comics, it's not really clear what the motivations are so much, right? Mm-hmm. Childhood trauma? I don't know. She just seems crazy.
Yeah, they don't really go into depth about mental illness or anything like that with Princess in the books. I mean, it is implied that she's been on her own for a while. She does say something along the lines of, I'm difficult to love. You know, that line that Princess had is... There's something similar in the books. So, you know, we get the feeling that she's got some stuff going on. But for the most part, she's just, like, happy-go-lucky, like, just happy to be around people. But, yeah, she's got a dark side, too. They're able to shine a brighter light on it in the show than the comic, so it's nice. It's nice to see.
Trying to give the crazy some more substance, I guess, right?
Like an explanation for it, yeah.
It's kind of like the Negan character, right? Like, he can swear, he can do all these things, but like, what's the underlying motivation? Oh, wait, it's actually to save people? And the comic does sort of a duty in explaining that as well, but on TV versus the comic, it's like, it's easier to believe a comic, I think. It's not easy to see people in real life in believing that that's what it is. You have to do a lot more convincing. And the TV show for a little while didn't even know how to do that, like in season 8. Like, you believed it a little bit, but you're like, I don't think so. Not even all the way till the end. And then season 9 comes around. And it's just like, okay, I see. And then season 10 comes around. Okay, I see what's going on here. You had a hint of it. And honestly, the comics people were probably more ready to accept it. But like the people who were watching the show were like, I don't know. I'm hanging in there, but I don't know. I'm not sure. When I was talking to Carol about this when we were covering season 8, when we first started podcasting, it took a lot of convincing. We were still following the Rick train. It's only because of Carol that I was able to come around, though. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh, God. Yeah, I can't see a world in which I would like this guy at all, you know, until season 9, maybe. And by then, not the same showrunner.
I mean, I still don't like Negan, but I see he can be useful.
Now, in the back of my mind, is Negan be Neganing? Probably. We'll see. But, like, I'm willing to give this guy a little bit more credit, considering, you know, the storm, the calm before the storm, the storm, the interactions with Judith. There's a part of you that wants, I've mentioned this before, there's a part of you that's always going to want, even from, like, really, really bad people that show an inkling of humanity, want a redemption story. That's the human story.
If I trust the comic books, like Negan, once he is, you know, redeemed, he's perfectly fine. He doesn't cause another problem. He's fine. He goes off, he lives his life, and he leaves everybody alone. But I don't trust the showrunners that that he's going to get off that easy. I think he's still got one more trick up his sleeve.
Right. This is why I was bringing that up in our last episode, like with Maze. It's like, I think the show wants us to not be 100% in Negan's corner so much, you know, by way of this character, right? Being betrayed, fine, but like in a different context. So, but going back to Paula, now.
Paula.
Look, we can sum up this episode in the fact that, like, it's almost like TWD World Beyond. You see the character after having been isolated for 10 years, go through this incredible, I don't think that journey is over. I was going to say incredible journey and then come out the other side. No, you know, like trying to unlearn some of the, and she does try, and she does realize it, and she catches herself trying to unlearn some of her coping mechanisms for the apocalypse in order to deal with a very difficult situation. This is what I live for. When The Walking Dead does this, rarely, but when The Walking Dead does this thing where it's usually like a physical triumph. It's usually like usually there's a lot more physicality in the triumph. Like with TWD World Beyond, a lot of it's psychological trauma that these people overcome in order to be another version of themselves. Fear the Walking Dead did that, you know, after so many seasons, right? 4, 5, and 6. And even like whatever, even some of the older characters, season 1 all the way to season 6. And now we're seeing a growth, like a huge step in growth. So now that Walking Dead is doing that with Princess, with a new character, obviously, because it's harder to do that with older characters, I think, personally, right? You know too much. Yeah. Gabe, like think about what we were saying about Gabe, right? In the last episode, we're like, what happened, right? Why are we saying what happened? We know even a version of Gabe before the time jump, which was actually okay. We liked him. He was dealing with Negan. It was like, whatever, blah. But not everybody liked him. It was like, people still had memories of old Gabe. You know, but when season 10 comes around, oh baby, I'm liking this Gabe. He's got the confidence, got Rosita. God told me to hang you. I know, whatever. We'll keep going. But it's hard. Like, there's still the holdouts because nobody knows what happened. And that's the thing. When you have a character around this long, it's harder. You can't make those kinds of jumps. But the way they did it in Fear for those characters was they'd gone through some pretty big things. And you saw it for the most part. The dam breaking, them trying to be better people, things happening. It's not quite working out that way. Ginny taking them, and it allows them to do things that they wouldn't normally do, but in the style of who they were. You know, so you know who they are, which leads to this evolution. With Gabe, we're missing that one piece. Yeah. With Princess, it's so much easier. She's a fresh character. We can make allowances, you know, taking her at her word as per the show, as she's written, to follow these leaps. She tells you something that feels real. She tells you something about her past, like how her dad beat on her and her mom was like all about it, you know, which is great the way they told it because you got a kernel of like this beginning part of it with a story in the beginning about how she got the splinter when she was a kid. And then you get this part at the end with Ezekiel, right? The finishing move, saying how her mom was a survivor. And then Ezekiel responding right away, she was a monster. And she was like, she was just scared. Like you see her, she's defending her. She's like past it. She's like, she was just scared. Like, again, TWD growth, like, you know, like that kind of evolution. But she was just scared. You know, we're all monsters, Ezekiel sort of says. I think something like that. You know, that's how it all is. And then she manages to say, I had these people, I had that, I had Dougie. Dougie, I think was the dad, right? I think so.
Dougie? I remember her saying Mrs. Turner or Mrs. Tanner.
But she mentioned in the beginning all the kind of shitty people.
Sammy,
but then she said I had Mrs.
Oh, the shitty ones, yeah.
Yeah, but then she said I had Mrs. Turner, like you said. I think it was Turner, right? Yeah,
I think so. And then Sammy and his people.
Sammy's group, right.
Yeah.
But these, they came back for me. Sammy, I guess, must have left her behind. You know, because I was thinking when she said Sammy and his group, I'm thinking, okay, Sammy and his group, was that pre-apocalypse? Was that post-apocalypse, right? I thought maybe post-apocalypse.
I was thinking Sammy's group was post-apocalypse. I was thinking that they were actually the last group of people she had contact with. Remember how she said, I've been alone for about a year, and we were like, yeah, it might be closer to like 7 years.
I was thinking that, right?
Yeah, I was thinking whoever Sammy is, they were the last group, you know, that kind of took off.
Right. Took off, didn't look back. Yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about it. And speaking of other things I totally forgot of, like, for the longest time until somebody actually, I watched one of those things, I think the Jamie Joe show actually reminded me of it. But remember when she was counting the state capitals alphabetically?
Yeah.
And she stopped at Harrisburg? That's a callback to when we first see her. She's quickly belting out to the guy because she doesn't think they're real. She's like, quick, what's the capital of Pennsylvania? She goes, one of them goes Harrisburg. She goes, wait, I think I knew that. And then like in this episode, she goes, Harrisburg.
She remembers it.
I did know that. I didn't put that in my notes. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a cool insight. Yeah, I forgot about that. Nisa's also saying post-apocalypse, Sammy's group. Yep. And maybe foster families pre-apocalypse too. Yeah. Was she in the foster system? I don't know if that was stated out loud.
Not that I heard or remember her saying.
Because, oh, well, actually, no. But you know what? Nisa's right. Nisa is right. If in fact her mom left, she would have been left with the stepdad. Stepdad wouldn't have stuck around. Stepdad would have put her up for adoption. For sure. Hated her guts.
Yeah, but do you think he would give up his punching bag?
That's another good point. You know what? Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not, you know what? I haven't made my mind.
I hate
don't have
saying
an
that
opinion.
out loud, but I could see him keeping her so that he could continue to beat on her.
I want to go through the archetypes of what each fake version of like Yumiko, Eugene, and Ezekiel represent too, because Yumiko right from the start. Well, first of all, let's just say it out loud. By the end of it, none of it is real. Princess is speaking through a hole that doesn't exist to Yumiko. There's no hole in the wall for her to see Eugene on the other side, which it's just so fantastic. It's just so fantastic that's the level of her imagination. And then the hatch at the top, completely not real, all boarded up. It's so hard to believe, but then it goes to show like what she had to imagine in order to get through a difficult, scary situation. It's easy to forget, like when we first meet her, she's making all these mistakes and she's trying to make up for, almost causing the group to die, get hurt, whatnot, like in the minefields, trying to redirect them to the bikes. I got something really cool to show you, but I'm going to take the roundabout route because I'm really cool like that, through the minefield. Or that we could have just walked around it, but this is the direct way, the cool way where I can show you how good I am. Because it may be like, whatever, what's his name's group? Sammy's group. Sam. Maybe that's like, she just didn't pull her weight. She didn't feel like she was good enough. Maybe she wasn't cool enough. I don't know. But like, whatever it was, it does make me think about like what she didn't do to make herself stand out and be left behind.
See,
I'm hard to love.
I was thinking maybe she was too eager and just obnoxious to the point where they couldn't stand to be around her anymore. Let me do that. Let me do this. Like, and people are like, Princess, just sit for a minute. And she's like, no, I got to do something. Let me do this. And they were just finally like, we got to get away from this chick.
Yeah, she's like the Starscream from Transformers. Like,
Starscream, I'm gonna take over Megatron.
That's, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Starscream, Transformers, Autobots.
Anyway, sorry. That's just for the old people. older than Rachel people. Again, Nisa says something very interesting. She says, what if Sammy's group is the Reapers?
Ooh,
Maybe. I mean, it is generally in the area of Charleston. They're in a big city because that's kind of where, in and around where, sort of a little north of where Maggie was. So anything is possible. Mm-hmm. That's a good call, though. Let's just put that in the back of our mind banks. No, but when you were saying maybe she was too eager at the time, I was thinking maybe she wasn't eager enough. Maybe she didn't pull her weight enough. I'm coming at it from a different angle. Like, and I'm not going to make up my mind either way. Like maybe she's too eager now because she doesn't want them to leave. It's kind of like what you were saying about Princess in the comic books. She's just happy to be around people and she's overcompensating. She doesn't want them to leave. So she wants to impress them so they don't leave. So maybe she's doing the exact opposite thing of what she did before, because there is an indicator of why I think this way, like a little bit. Two examples. One is in the past with her mom. One of the things that Yumiko tells Princess to do exactly what her mom did in the past. Just do what they say. And her mom literally says, then don't eat. Don't rock the boat. Do what they say. And it's very easy to see like her keeping quiet. And what does she do in the interview? She's messing up a little. She's like not answering. She's kind of being a little bit. And then at some point, she just shuts up. She's like, I don't want to make it worse. I don't want what I say to make things worse. And I know that if I don't say anything, I'm not going to make things any better, but it's a lot better than opening my mouth and getting hit across the face. So Yumiko is that part of her that, just don't rock the boat.
At that point, obviously I had no idea that this wasn't actually happening, but I did find it really strange how injured Yumiko was considering what had happened to her. And I'm like, you're not going to die from getting hit in the face with the butt of a rifle.
Right. You're not going to die from a concussion. Is that the case?
Right. Well, I mean, you could slip into a coma if you fall asleep with a concussion, but again, like, I just thought, why is she acting like she's hurt way worse than she is? Like, I don't know. That was like where my mind went. But yeah, come to find out, it was Princess's projection of what she thought Yumiko was going through and the responsibility she felt of what happened to Yumiko with her, grabbing the knife and then, Yumiko getting slapped.
So what you're saying is she feels directly responsible for what happened to Yumiko, right?
Yes, 100%.
As the events go in the beginning of the episode, it so happens that she's reaching for the knife because they strike her down. Yumiko is trying to make things better. Yumiko gets hit with a rifle. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you see her throughout the episode flashing back to that moment saying, and I don't know about you, but I have this. I think about every now and again, if something reminds me of an incident from the past that I just completely regret. There are so many of these that I have. Even the thing I said last week about, hey, Chris, when you and me played video games, I remember what you said. Hey, what about girls? But I remembered that. Now at the time I kind of covered for it. And that was me just explaining my thought process. Because we are like, we do have like, okay, the age gap obviously closes in when we get older. I mean, you're with 37?
Almost.
Okay, so even that, right? When I was 5 years old, I was playing video games. You weren't even born yet.
Right.
So there's that, there's that gap. But when you said it, though, it got in my head and I felt bad about it. And I was just like, maybe she did the same thing when she was my age, but I was 10, 11 years old. So, but I was thinking of the time. Yeah. Because times do change. It was 91 when you turned 5 or 6. I don't know if it was the same way. Some things are like a moment in time, They change as they get older. Because console wars started happening. Genesis was out for a couple of years already. Anyway, no need to go. I still felt bad about it. So sometimes I replay that in my head, and there's so many
don't feel bad about
terrible.
it.
Well, I mean, I do. But there are way worse examples I can choose that I do not want to say out loud because they're so bad. They're so bad in my head that I can't even utter them. They're like
I was just teasing you for not including the girl as a gamer. That I was just giving you shit for that.
I know. I would never make that mistake in modern times. Back then it was just, but it was true that girls didn't play video games in the 80s, in the mid 80s. They just didn't, there weren't really many games geared
not
towards
many.
girls.
I mean, I wouldn't say no girls, but not many.
No, and
not
I wouldn't
many.
either. But I'm like, I wish, because I'd probably have a lot more friends that were girls over or something like that, because that's all I did as a kid. That's I'd have friends that did play video games with me that like would beg me to go outside. I'd be like, nah, come on, just play video games with me inside. Come on. I'd be a terrible influence. Yeah.
I have another controller.
Sharon says girls can't, quote unquote, girls can't be gamers. They won't have the time to cook. Oh my God. Yeah. Why did you make me say that out? Why didn't I read that ahead of time? Is the thing. Why didn't I read that ahead of time? I'm just like your hapless mouthpiece to get me canceled, Charity. I did it last week. Robert Patrick's why did you make me say that?
Have you seen this buoy?
He says, hashtag Dave is over party. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Dave is canceled. Just keep going. Rachel, stop laughing. It's just looping. Anyway.
She's not even breathing.
Oh my God, yeah. She just keeps like Gabriel in the oh Lord. That's totally a clip now. Direct all mail to blazygardner@yahoomail.com. What were we even talking about again? Okay, so yes, she is flashing back to that moment because, and again, this illustrates the anxiety of the PTSD. I don't know about PTSD, but the anxiety fact is that, I caused Yumiko to get hit, and she's making it bigger and bigger in her head. Oh my God, she has a concussion. Oh my God, she could slip into a coma. It's my fault. I gotta make sure she's safe. Meanwhile, she's not even there. She's making up these people because she needs to make up Sammy's group all this time in her head. Maybe Sammy's group wasn't real. That's another thing. Maybe she made up Sammy. You know what I mean?
That's a possibility too. Now, I agree that Yumiko's not there talking to Princess and Eugene's not there talking to Princess, but they are somewhere.
They have to be somewhere, or else you don't believe that they're in that last scene. Also.
And then we hear the soldier say, "What is cars A, B, and C are quiet." So I don't know about you, but A, B, and C go right next to each other. Wouldn't you assume?
Usually, right?
Wouldn't you assume that train cars A, B, and C would be consecutive train cars?
But Rachel, you have to understand something. And I was thinking, that's why I wrote it down. I was like, what? Because, okay, before, let me say the whole thing, because this is as she's trying to see Eugene, right? She's in the midst of talking to Eugene, right? So
I believe so.
Almost getting caught. Princess hides. Commonwealth soldier says negative on that. Report of activity was over in the switchyard area. Interesting. And if you go to the subtitles, you don't see switchyard, but I heard it and I wrote it down.
Okay.
Switchyard area. Where's the switchyard? Switchyard is where the 2 walkers are at the end with Ezekiel, but they really were 2 walkers there.
I guess I don't know what a switch yard is.
Switchyard is basically the little lever that is pulled to move the track left or right, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
But no, those soldiers might not even be real. Like, meaning they're saying cars A, B, and C are all quiet, but that doesn't mean that they're really there, or that, that's...
Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. When Sharon and I were watching it earlier today, we got to the end and I'm like, dude, like, it's gotten to the point where, like, I don't believe anything I'm seeing. Like, is this bloody soldier even real? Like, is any of this real? Is she even standing in a boxcar right now? Like I was ready to just, like, throw my hands up and be like, nothing's real.
Right. So the point, is Lance Hornsby even real?
Right. Did the interview even happen?
Because even that scene is weird. The first thing that Princess says when the soldiers looking her up and down naked is, "Hey, I'm not bit." What? I would be like, "Stop looking at me, Swan." I'd be like, do you like the view? I mean,
right?
He's like, I mean, obviously he's giving a detailed look, but it's easy to assume that it's not a leap to say maybe he's getting his jollies. I mean,
see,
right?
I mean, now that you say that, I suppose that's sure, yeah, I could see.
Princess goes to the automatically like, oh, I assume you're looking for walker bites.
Yeah, and I had a different theory altogether.
Please enlighten me, because I'm lost. I only bring up this question because even I'm caught. I don't know. That doesn't feel like a right response.
So my theory is, if the interview is real, the soldiers hear Princess in the boxcar, and she's clearly talking to herself, right? Because she's been talking to Yumiko, Yuji, she's having conversations with herself. So if I were a soldier hearing this from outside the train car, and I know there's no one else in there with her, I would be searching her person for a recording device. Maybe she's a spy, and she's recording something and going to take it back to her group. That was my thought.
That is cool, because that is nowhere in the ballpark of what I was thinking. Yeah.
They doused her in something. So if she had a recording device on her, it would be ruined.
That's very well thought out. Okay, I'll go with that. But again, it doesn't explain her response. Like, if I was naked and people were looking at every part of me with a microscope, I mean, I'm exaggerating, salt and pepper, I'm exaggerating, but, right?
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about Princess' reaction, which makes me think, should I be doubting that this... Now, we both know that according to Talking Dead, the interview is real. I don't know how real, but it is real. Okay. I also thought it was very odd also that this is me just trying to fight out like what I'm being told. I'm being told the interview is real, but why is Lance Hornsby in the shadows so much?
Yeah.
That we can't even see him barely, And then
could just be intimidation.
But wait, he says something very interesting, and I'm not sure if this is the character or not. I'm not sure. Because then he goes, "Why won't you let me see my friends?" "Because you're being a bitch." And I'm thinking, the father.
That line struck me.
Right. Because, again,
yeah,
there's something that you said in our last episode about Lance Hornsby, is he's not very threatening. Wait.
No.
Which makes me think, oh my fucking God. I'm confident enough to say this much. Okay, you ready for this? The interview is real and not real. The interview is real and not real. Based on something that you said. You had said that Lance Hornsby, because the voice, I thought it was just so unreal. It was unreal, right? He looked ridiculous, though. He still looked ridiculous. Everybody else's shoulder pads kind of covered their shoulders, pretty much. Lance Hornsby, like about here, right?
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yes.
It was like almost like a cartoon. Even the other soldier looked too bulky. The one that was looking her up and down, the armor looked too big.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm thinking to myself, what if Lance Hornsby was the soldier at the end? Which makes perfect sense. Because if she doesn't recognize who this guy is, she could have a problem reconciling who Lance Hornsby is, in the one in her mind. With the
and why?
Because why bother? Like, why bother answering the questions? She gives him the answers, right? And he's like, automatically, yeah, there they are. Because I'm Lance Hornsby. Isn't that weird? Could be.
Could be. That's I think that's a pretty decent theory, because at the end, again, when Sharon and I were watching earlier, and he says, I got her. It's, open up, I got her. And I'm like, no, fucker, she got you. Like, do you not see your face right now? I'm like, what does that even mean? And Sharon D said, well, maybe what he means is he got her to open up. I went,
Right.
oh, yeah, okay.
Right. But the reason why like you said, so like we both said, that line is a bit much. Because you're being a bitch. Her father, or stepdad, stepfather.
Right.
He's still in the shadows when he hits her. Still in the shadows when he's saying the line. You could have just answered our questions as he's shrouded in shadows. He's not quite real. Or maybe it's this kid, this guy, but he's in the shadows and she's making him out to be scarier and deeper voice than he actually is. This is what gets me, right? Now, there is a tick in the other corner saying that, okay, maybe this kid isn't Lance Hornsby, because just before she starts answering the questions, you saw this in my notes, you see him turn on the radio.
Yeah, oh yeah,
right?
I noted that too.
Probably keeps it open. Everybody's hearing and listening. Now, it could still be him relaying it to somebody to write paperwork. Who knows? But that is another tick in the real corner. But it just gets me thinking. It's the lines that he uses, the fake Lance. We're going to call him fake Lance Hornsby for now.
Fake Lance.
and how cartoony he is, how cartoony the other soldier is. He's just too bulky. Lance Hornsby's it doesn't quite fit. It's bizarre world. I think it might be real because they answer when he asks how old she is, and she's like 28, 29. I could be 50. I don't know, man. I lost track a long time ago. See, that's the thing. Fake Lance Hornsby's asking are only things that she would probably know to ask of herself, and maybe specifically things that would annoy her. Like, I imagine these people would ask these annoying questions because I don't know. There's nothing else that I can answer. There's no part of my life that they would want to know. Or maybe it is real, but she's imagining him to be scarier than he actually is. These people must be bad.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, the interview happened, but we don't see him because she can't remember him.
Right.
She's imagining a much scarier figure than what he really is.
You know what makes it even better is that we've all kind of been there, right?
Sure.
I'm remembering something so specific because, again, talk about memories that you regret or things that you just remember differently. Like, I remember when I was getting my original booster shot or booster shot when I was like 5 or 6 years old or 7. This is how I remember it. My mom said, "Oh, you're going to get a lollipop at the end." And I did. "Oh, they're just going to give you a lollipop. It's nothing." I remember the fact that she lied to me and it was a shot that I had to get. All I remember is that she lied to me. But I'm making it out to be worse than and I held it against her for all these years. And then, like, of course, a couple years down the line, I'm like, of course you had to lie to me. Yeah, you just need to be calm enough so you can get the fucking shot. But you remember it so sinisterly. Like, you were laughing with evil glee when you finally got the shot. And that's the thing. Like, you remember it so much worse than it actually was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, your mom was in the corner going,
and the mind control device is planted.
Stick him again. It didn't work the first time.
Yeah. You hit a vein or you hit an artery.
Yeah. That was bone. Try again.
Nisa says 40 years later, "Mom, where's my lolly?"
Yeah.
I know how to hold a grudge. No.
Oh yeah.
But that is pretty funny. Yeah, but think about that for a minute. Yeah, but we all have that in our heads. Like,
I have those stories for sure. Yeah, like when my mom punished me as a kid. When I retell those stories, my punishment was always way worse than what actually happened.
So bad. I was punished for 3 months, and all I did was something not crazy, right?
No.
Meanwhile, the thing that you did was probably worse than it was that you made it out to be.
Yeah. No, like, well, what did you do?
Got was like nothing.
Yeah. Well, what did you do to get that punishment? I don't know. It wasn't that bad. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't remember that part.
I mean, I accidentally lit the house on fire. I accidentally did. Like, meanwhile, you say house on fire, but like, okay, you lit like a towel.
Right.
I left a towel on the burner on the pan that she was cooking in. Yeah, I can see why she gave you 1 week of punishment, not like 3 months. The horrible monster. Hey, look, I didn't think we would have anything to talk about, but here we are. Just think about that. This is in the pre-show. We got the Yumiko thing. That happened at night. That happened right after the incident. She's talking to Yumiko, quote unquote. Now, you have to remember also that, like, she's yelling at Yumiko because she thinks she's passed out, right? With a concussion. The soldiers are like, "Shut the fuck up." Because it's crazy princess yelling out in her car, and she's just like, "Shut the oh god, But here's the thing: next morning, obviously, princess at some point passes out, right? Outside the train car. I don't know if she's hearing it that way or if it's real. But if I don't even know if I think it is in the captions. Yes, it is in the captions. It's the soldier as they're passing by in the car. He goes, I don't know about you. I've never seen one turn that fast. Who are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What are they talking about? Are they talking about walkers? Are they talking about a person? Is somebody turning on someone else?
Isn't that a term? Like if something turns, like couldn't that also mean like when your food goes bad? So maybe they're just talking about food.
That's so not juicy though. No, he says I've never seen one turn that fast.
Yeah,
Exact
like a
I've
baked
never-
ham.
A Christmas dinner. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm trying to think on the positive here.
That uncle that's all Republican, like, I never seen him turn into a Democrat that fast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay, so now Nisa's saying Walker, or if they actually said that, it would be them playing with her because they know she's listening. That's a good theory, too. And Sharon's like, Eugene gave everybody up so quickly. But, like, give up what, though? That's what I'm saying. That's the other thing, right? Like, did everybody keep their mouths shut except for, except for that one person, right? Because at this point, she's not in the interview yet.
I mean, I think Eugene would spill the beans. I mean, that's why they went there. That's the other thing. Like,
right.
they went there for this. So, yeah, I think Eugene would absolutely answer their questions. No hesitation.
Right, which kind of goes back to the point. I mean, it seems like they might have all just been very forthcoming, but Princess, in her head, after they hit Yumiko over the face or cracked her over the head, or what she did, and maybe she is making a bigger deal out of grabbing the knife than they're even making it out. Like the Commonwealth is like, okay, she was probably just scared, okay, end of story.
I mean,
because they seem pretty chill.
We could even go so far,
except for that one scene.
We could even go so far as to say that Princess didn't actually reach for the knife, but thought about reaching for it. And all of this still played out this way.
Yeah, I'm down for that. And I can accept that.
And I only say that because when she goes to reach for it, the sounds are muffled, the camera's a little jitter. Like, we're already sort of in that anxious mind. So it just might be her thinking about reaching for it.
Either she did it and she didn't realize she was doing it at the time, which I can accept also. I'll fully say, I will remember myself doing things that I can't believe I did. Things that I wouldn't normally do. But in the heat of anxiety, like I'm almost on autopilot. I don't know if you've ever reached that level of anxiety where you don't know what you're doing until you remember yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a meeting halfway kind of thing. Like I don't think she intended to ruin this moment or whatever.
Right.
But in the heat of anxiety, being very scared, all of a sudden these people coming up on her, she doesn't realize what she's doing. She does it and she reflects on it. She's like, God, why are you so hard to love? Or et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why do you gotta fuck things up? Like, so I can easily like not blame her. Same thing. Remember, like sort of like with Hope. Remember Hope in World Beyond? Like it goes off. It doesn't really. She's not really.
Oh,
shooting.
The gun thing. Yeah.
Yeah. This was before she admitted to herself finally. Like it just went off. Well, the way I explained it was like it didn't even look like. I'm sure she's blaming herself, but like it didn't even look like she was in complete control of it. Nisa says it best, quote unquote, a bunch of scary action figures that came to life, which also sounds very scary if you really think about it.
Since the apocalypse started, Princess has not seen an organized force like this. You know what I mean? So yeah, that would be terrifying to see a group of people this organized and heavily armed. Yeah, that would be scary.
Going back to the quote, I can't believe one turned that fast. They could also be talking about her. Like,
yeah.
I can't whistle for some reason for right now.
Yeah. That's a very good point. This could be just a tactic, separating them and isolating them.
Turn cuckoo.
We assume she's been in there overnight, but it could be days.
Which also assumes that they've done this a lot and they've seen it a couple times. Like, okay, I haven't seen one go crazy this quickly.
That actually makes a lot more sense.
I say that because the line is so open-ended. It's almost saying, I know something you don't know. Like, the show is saying, I know something you don't know. And you're not going to know it until season 11. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
Right? Almost, right? But it's just open-ended enough to be like, oh, they just mean crazy person here. Right? Which then gets you thinking, like, let's say they are talking about Princess. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks for her. That makes me feel bad. Eugene seems to, it's pretty cut and dry. obviously, Hole is not real. She's not really talking to Eugene. She's not really outside the train. But Eugene is obviously her better judgment. This is what we're here for. We just got to go along with the flow. You trust in us. We're going to steer you through. We're not going to let you down. We didn't leave you then. We're not going to leave you now.
I called Eugene the rational voice in Princess's head.
Not very reassuring because part of her takes some sort of offense. You think I'm going to fuck things up. Like,
yeah.
But Eugene powers through. I love that. Where Ezekiel apologizes because he's supposed to represent the protector. Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings. Of course I'm going to apologize for making you even think for 1 second, I mean my friend's not yours. Mm-hmm. Eugene doesn't apologize. She goes, you think I'm going to fuck this up? Listen, he goes, shut up. We got to keep on this path. No, if you notice, he doesn't really go, shut up. He doesn't do that, but he doesn't apologize. He says, he just delivers the urgency, which is that part of her brain. It's going, no, listen. I know you're confused right now, but you just got to believe in your friends. If you just believe in your friends, like, whereas Yumiko's voice was like, don't do anything. Eugene's like, do this, just comply. Mm-hmm. Don't do anything. Do this, comply. If you don't do anything, you'll be like in the interview. You could see a little bit of all three in the interview. Protector, being loyal, protector, fuck you. And then there's Yumiko, which when she's just quiet. And then there's Eugene, which is like, she's like, it really is Princess, or like, it really is this or that. Pittsburgh. She gives her Pittsburgh. There's all sorts of things going on when she's actually in the interview. All of this is before the interview. Yumiko and Eugene right before the interview. When Eugene finally says, do not make things worse, she's basically saying to herself, have faith in your friends, which means you've got to extend that faith to the Commonwealth. And that's a hard hill to climb. It's like, it's one thing if I have faith in you. I don't know if I trust these guys. That's evident once you finally get to the interview. She cannot help herself. She's tapping her foot. She's like, I don't know. This goes against everything I've been taught growing up. And then the splinters fucking bother me in the meantime, which could be allegorical, could not be. Who knows? I'm not. Because again, she gets the splinter from trying to pull the boards off the thing, but the hole wasn't real. So how did she get that splinter? Is the splinter real? They may be looking at her and be going like, there's no fucking splinter there. There's nothing there. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there. Now you see there's like a remnant of a cut. Like when she said, the splinter's gone, when she finally unlocks the guy's handcuffs. She's like, it's out. And it's like, was it there to ever begin with? Now, again, this is also an allegory, so we can explain that away. Whether it's real or not doesn't really matter. Why is it finally out? Because she extends that grace that she has for her friends and takes a chance on this Commonwealth soldier. It's only when she unlocks his handcuffs. Yep. Crazy pants, right? You think, crazy pants, here's your rifle. Here, I'm going to unlock you. Complete trust. Complete faith in this new group. Oh, Charity says that's a pretty good one. Splinter / John's tooth in Fear the Walking Dead. John Dory. Yeah. Is in the key. The key. His tooth is the rot in the community, represents the rot in the community, and then he finally pulls it out.
I think that rolls nicely into what Nisa says. The splinter is her anxiety. When it comes out, obviously anxiety doesn't totally go away, but I feel like she is relieved at that moment. Her anxiety is sort of lifted.
Going back to like the stages of grief, like part of that comes along with like the 12 steps too. Like sometimes you have to deal with grief while recovering as an addict. So you've got the stages of grief, but you also have the 12 steps. I think it's the first step is giving up to a higher power. There is something relieving when you finally say, it's not in my hands. I'm giving it up to you. I'm putting my faith in you. And part of giving someone your complete faith is resigning yourself to accept the consequences that happen after you do that. So that makes sense. You're making a decision how you want to react to this moment. I am giving you my anxiety. I'm leaving it in your hands. Anything that happens from here on in, I accept. So there is a relief in doing that. You know what I mean? Which explains everything. This is why I wrote, like, when Eugene says, do not make things worse. It means have faith. You're going to have to forget everything you know. This is hard. You're going to have to forget everything you know. Have faith in the friends that came back for you. Which means to do that, you're going to have faith in these people that you've been taught. First of all, like, if you can't trust your parents, how can you trust any authority figure, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't trust my mom for years after that.
Oh my God.
Booster shot. But seriously, it's almost no joke.
You're like what else are you lying about?
It's so bad. Like now that I'm thinking about it as a kid, like as an adult, I'm like, I used to call her a liar. I used to go for a long time, until I figured it out. I'm like, I came online like what, 10, 8, 9, whatever it was. Like, oh, I get it now. Because I'm an older brother too. So I'm the oldest brother. So I get it. I had to lie to my brothers and sisters all the time. But yeah, but then having faith in the Commonwealth is like, okay, this is too much. It's too much.
Princess's introduction to the Commonwealth soldiers, I love this, and it makes me all that much more want the romance between her and Mercer to happen. If they choose to go down that path, because I just find it like sort of hilarious, right? Like this is her introduction.
So you're saying there was
in the books, her and Mercer have a romance, yes. So if they decide to go that route on the show, I I think it would be kind of hysterical that this is how she meets them too. I was kind of like questioning the way she was hollering after Yumiko, like that whole thing. I'm like, she's so concerned about Yumiko, but not Ezekiel or Eugene. Like, I was like, are they like, is this, I mean, I know Yumiko's technically still supposed to be with Magna, but that's kind of fallen apart, so maybe, I don't know.
I didn't know what you're talking about that in there. No, but but then let me answer that with but that's really, I didn't think of that. But the reason why I didn't think of that is because it's clear to me that like, not only is Princess responding like harshly to herself about or like increasing the anxiety about being responsible for getting Yumiko hurt, but as she's telling that story in the beginning, you start to realize that like, and also by the end, because of Ezekiel being the protector figure, the king to the princess, right? Mm-hmm. To save her, the king saves the princess, etc. Whatever. But when you re-review the beginning about Yumiko and her not even being there, she's really talking about herself, like that version of her as a kid.
Sure.
Who's beat up on, who was literally beat up on, and her wanting to save that part of herself. And that is actually when you realize that, it's very emotional, because there's always a point, or like one point in, I don't know if you had this or Nisa, if you had this, right? She's saying it now. Nisa, Yumiko is princess in her mind. I mean, she doesn't know it at the time, but I don't know about you, but when you're a kid, or even like when you're a teenager, especially when you're a teenager, probably, there's that part of you as an adult, when you're 30 or 40, you'll get there eventually, that wants to talk and save that part, part of that person that you were, that says, I remember that moment. I wish I could tell you at the time, like that, like the writing letters to yourself sort of thing. I don't know if you've ever thought about even doing it or have done it. Like, hey, Dave, I'm writing this letter to you from the future. Like, some people do, though. Like, some people have this part of their past that they really regret or embarrassed about, and they write these letters to themselves, and it's very passionate. It's like it's very open, it's very gruesome, but it's also very forgiving. There's that part of you, and you do it because you want to forgive yourself. That part of you in the future is saying to yourself at the past, it's okay. You'll get through this moment. Just forgive yourself. It's not your fault. That's what Princess is sort of doing with Yumiko. She wants to be there for her. Like nobody was there for her when she was a kid. And it's really, like, when you think about it, it is kind of emotional. That little part of it, that part of her that wants to protect the old her. At what cost, right? Her sanity / her anxiety, ramping up the injury that she makes up as a result of that. That's hard. But then when you have time to reflect on this episode, as we thankfully have had like 24 hours, you really kind of start to dig into like, what is this? And it's not a strange thing to think, because it was hard for Yumiko to come around. Oh, she really is hard to love. But then she did. Came back for her.
So you don't think that even the beginning of the episode was real, where they were separating everyone and Yumiko got hit?
I think that is real.
Okay.
I think that's definitely
real.
So
I thought so too. But if you didn't, I wanted to hear your take on that. Yeah.
I just think she's making it worse than it was.
I agree. Yeah. But I definitely thought it happened.
Because she's not wobbling by the end of it with the black bag over her head. She's not like, ooh, like a cartoon, like, ooh, making it clear. She's upright. She's standing on her 2 feet straight with good posture. So that's something.
Yeah.
Her body double is fit. Oh, that's another thing we have to make clear.
Gotta explain that.
I mean, I think most people know by now, but I think for those who may not be too clear, Eleanor Matsura, she was stuck in England for the duration of the filming. So every scene with her physically there is a body double. Like, some of the scenes where you can actually see her were obviously from episode 1016, but everything else is body double stuff and voiceover that Eleanor did from across the pond. So she's not really in this episode.
They're in spirit and in voice.
Disembodied voice. It was kind of spooky too, wasn't it? A little bit.
A little bit.
Let's get into the meteor of all the the ghosts of Princess Past.
Right. Yeah, this was like a Christmas Carol.
Ezekiel one is like the most fascinating to me. Like the father figure that never was.
He was also
adult
the
that
most
never was.
like over the top, I felt like.
Which isn't a stretch for Ezekiel / Kari Payton. So
Yeah.
you're like, so let's stop right here. At any point throughout any of this, maybe you thought it was weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you were like, all right, fine. You know, this is really them.
I was
right?
I was watching him do it, so I had to believe it, but I'm like, what? No.
But part of you was even like, what, the hole with the board on it? How is that a secure facility? But then you're like, I'll roll with it. Maybe because we were talking about the Commonwealth. We were saying how they're a little bit on the, what are these people, right?
Right.
So I'll allow it. You know, it's
Well,
like,
and
okay, this is not a very secure facility.
It's a train yard that exists. You know what I mean? If they stuck them in a train car, sure, there could be a hole in it. You know, they're not normally used to hold prisoners, so sure, why not? The hole in the side didn't bother me.
And also, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You know, you step out 1 foot. We'll shoot you. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll toy with you like walkers. I don't know.
That's the idea. Yeah.
I mean, it's really just a place to hold them. It's not really like to keep them imprisoned. No,
Right.
It's just they're in this place and in lieu of taking them back to a facility. Yeah, Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel. Now, to complete the illusion, obviously, when she first sees him, he's wet to kind of like, oh, they just interviewed me. I'm here to escape, and I'm here to take you with me. That was okay. Like, I got that a little bit. It is weird that Zeke was like so willing to escape. And then, but like eventually it ramps up, right? Much in the way Princess imagines Yumiko's injury getting worse. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, she's got a call. I got a concussion. I guess I got to tell you a story to keep you awake. Meanwhile, like soldiers are outside and be like, what the fuck is going on here? Who is she talking to?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Shut up. Arnold Schwarzenegger. She's ramping up Ezekiel's like banter. You know, we're going to go through the front gate. We just got to steal some weapons and and she's like, calm the fuck down, Zeke. Mm-hmm. What is going, dude? You don't trust in Eugene? And then by the way, and when you realize what happens, you're like, it's that part of her that's just like, no, you gotta not trust don't trust what you know. Trust what you know. You know, like that part of her that's screaming, mm-hmm. I was the one that protected you. Mm-hmm. Those people left you. And I get it. It's like, it's so cool. When you realize what happens after that part of Zeke that with the two made up walkers, even though they were real, she dressed them up in her mind with conductor and whatever. Like, it completes the circle. It's like, I was just trying to tell you gotta trust what you know. You're great on your own. You know, he was a little intense back there. Now he's just like chilling out. I was like, oh, now I know you know what's up. I know you know now what's up. So I'm going to talk to you like you know what's up. I'm not going to make it intense anymore. I was going along with it all the way until he starts beating on the soldier.
Yeah, when he
like up until
did that, I'm like,
point.
Yeah.
First of all, where were you that he didn't see you?
Yeah. I'm like, how's she going to explain a dude in her room right now?
Exactly. Where did you come from, too? Great hiding spot, and also like coming out from right behind her. I think was it
when he hit him. I thought he.
Yeah, like how did you not?
I thought he stepped in from the front of the car, like came in through the front door that the soldier did, and then stepped in.
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm like,
which is like crazy.
Well, you know what I did real fast? I was like, oh, he snuck out the hole that doesn't exist, and then went around.
Came around the top. Yeah. How did he know about that? He didn't know about that.
Exactly.
But that's really good thinking.
Princess did. Yeah.
That's exactly how it happened in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Literally what you just said. Yeah. That's exactly, because there is no Superman going through the ceiling and then coming out. No. There's just, you do a barrel roll off the top and then slide him from the top and kick him through the door. I'm like, no, that didn't happen. No,
swinging.
Princess is not. Although, if that did happen, I would be like, oh, Princess is so. See, that's the thing. Okay, this is, and I can't keep saying crazy, right? Because I think The Walking Dead is trying to back away from crazy and trying to push like, oh, she's just got all this stuff. She's got all this stuff. It doesn't make her crazy. It just makes her diagnosable. And, you know, like a literal thing that's diagnosable, real, tangible. But I worry a little bit because now, first of all, we can't call her crazy.
Right. No, she's
can't.
not. I mean,
you're gonna get canceled.
crazy is a different kind of word. Like when I say crazy, I mean like
unbelievable. Right.
Usually I mean like fun, or sometimes I mean like scary, like they're crazy, like they might kill you type of vibe, you know, but I don't ever mean it to describe any sort of mental illness ever whatsoever.
I do.
I don't.
I'm kidding.
You do not.
I know I don't. But you know, it's the combination of things that makes you think, because of course, until now, we're describing her as crazy. Yes. Yeah, we have. She's okay. The most we've done is actually said, like, the most frequent one we said is she's extra, but now we can't even say that.
But I mean, she has an extra personality. Like, I would still, if I ever said Princess was crazy, it would be like how fun she is, or maybe she's being daring and like, you know, dangerous. Like, I would use crazy to describe those types of actions, not what she's going through right now. Like, to me, that's not crazy. That's
right.
just
no.
Like,
when I have said crazy about Princess, it's more in an action rather than diagnosis. It's more like her response to the things in her head, her response to people on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Say, you should apologize. You're not one to judge. You know, that, you know, crazy. I like it crazy. Yeah. That sort of thing. Yeah. I like that. But the fact that Ezekiel didn't do Superman fly out through the top and didn't come through the side and kicked him from the top of the door, I'm like, oh, they're holding back. You know, they're holding back on crazy, like literal crazy, and dialing it back and making it logical. Okay, oh, he escaped through the hatch and the side. We saw Eugene and came out through the door. Okay, this makes more sense. It's plausible. Right. No, it's like the Beta the Prophet thing, right? You kind of want a little room to be like, oh, this part of her personality is unexplainable. Like this part is like, that's all her. This is explainable. This whole episode is explainable. But then there's this part that we still don't know about her.
I'm going to apologize if someone already said this, because now that I've thought it, I think I remember seeing it. But did someone already say that Princess had DID? Dissociative identity disorder, like multiple personalities.
Split, right.
Yeah. Right. But what you had said earlier, and then sort of reimagining the scene with her and Ezekiel, because that's really the most physical one, you know what I mean? The other ones are just talking. She does that stuff to the soldier, but she's imagining Zeke. So that, to me, sounds like someone with DID.
To the point where, at this stage, it's usually at the point where you're resolving the issue, where you're actually aware that other personality is doing the thing. Mm-hmm. It's not severe cases. It's like, and Nisa could probably vouch for me on this one too, because I refer to her for anything psychological or psychiatric. The other personality or personalities are not aware of each other usually. Sometimes one will be aware of another, or the others will be aware of the one or the others, but it's hard to say the real person, because all of them are pieces of the one person, right?
It's like they're main
archetypes usually.
Like the main personality.
Yeah, because there is no main. The main person has lost their identity, has surrendered it to these other archetypes, you know, or embodiments of past versions of themselves, or versions of other, like exaggerations of other people they know in their life, or from TV, but they're representations of their personality, right? And so, but they have a name, they have a personality, they have a language, they have a, right?
Yeah.
And and there is no, buried underneath all that is not a real personality. That's just kind of a falsehood. They're all that person. So there is no main, really. But let's just take this under gospel.
That's
and that makes sense for Princess too.
Touchy topic. I mean, I think other people would have a different opinion, but yeah.
It's but the DID we know is from pop culture and like television shows, and it's like, yeah, there is a main personality, it has to emerge, and it's like, well, you know, it's just all of them at once, and that's who it is. That's what that real person is that we know. And so when she actually notices that this is, hey, what are you doing? I won't let them hurt me anymore. Yeah, he says hurt me anymore. And then the thing that really broke me out of it was, it broke Princess out of it too. He says out loud, just listen and do what we say.
Oh.
To the guy.
Yeah.
To the soldier. And she finally realizes that, like, oh shit, that's what Yumiko said to me way back when, like last night. And then she goes through the whole Megillah, and she's like, and then the blood spatter on her face, and it kind of follows. And it's just so fascinating to watch this reveal. Like, first of all, you get this no one's gonna hurt me anymore, you know. And then, like, what the fuck is he talking? Because here's the fucking crazy thing. I love how well this was written to kind of keep things buried, because you're thinking to yourself, they tell you they love you, you know, and like, oh yeah, Carol, right? Carol. Yeah, they tell you they love you, and then they leave you. That sort of thing. You're like, oh yeah, it makes complete sense. Zeke's finally unloading, but it's really Princess. It's really Princess.
Right.
But the thing that when you watch this again, you realize Princess is finishing his sentences, or they're finishing each other's sentences. It's this weird stream of thought that's going on between them, where they're like, bam, 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 bam. And you don't really notice it at the time. You don't really see on the show people finishing each other's sentences. And they're bonding really quickly. Like, it's not as if like Zeke didn't have his like arm's length moments with Princess. He's like, I kind of like this chick. She's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But like, also like, I'll just play along with it because I kind of do that too. But this buddy sort of thing, that was a little weird.
Two things. The whole scene where so Zeke comes in and he's pounding on the guy, and then Princess finally, pulls him off. And she's talking to the soldier, and Zeke's pacing around behind her, and they're both kind of yelling at him, doing all that. Ezekiel reminded me of Luther, the anger translator. Have you seen the Luther videos?
Yeah. from this is from Key and Peele. Yeah.
So Ezekiel was Luther in that scene.
With the gun behind her, like shadow. Yeah. He's like pacing around like a jungle cat going,
yeah.
Oh, you better not. You better not.
Are you messing with us? Are you messing with us?
Exactly.
And then I'll tell you exactly what it was when everything clicked for me and I realized what was actually happening. The blood splatter on Ezekiel's head. And then Princess had the same exact splatter on her head.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when everybody kind of like, what is going on? And then like, because she didn't have the blood on her originally, right?
Right. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. Why would they have the same exact? Oh, somebody spent a lot of time on that.
That's when everybody kind of went, oh, that's what we're seeing.
And then because that's what I do, I like stared at the both of them and I'm like, oh, and then that hooks right there, and then that dips down. Holy shit. Oh, and then like it was exact. Like exactly. It was exact. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's what really brought everything into focus, because you're like, this is of course she realizes this, and I think what she did right afterwards was a perfectly natural response. I am too much of a liability. I need to go. I'm no good for them. I'm no good for me. I'm just better off on my own. I get that. I totally get that. If I figured out that I am completely imagining this scenario, mostly, I would be like, how are they ever supposed to depend on me?
Yeah.
If this is where I go when I'm faced with a certain stressful situation, I get that completely. In fact, I wouldn't have come back at all. I really wouldn't. Why would I want to put myself in their hands? I'm only going to fuck it up. I mean, I'm just being real right now. Like, I get that she feels the way she does for these people, but I don't know. I'm that kind of crazy that, like, I don't want to risk one of these delusions in a high stress situation fucking their shit up. But I get it. Maybe she's thinking, as long as they're around, I won't have to feel this way, or I won't have to go down this avalanche of conclusions, because it was like a domino effect. Like, she was responsible for Yumiko. That anxiety grew. Don't say anything. And then the other part of it is just like believing the words that Eugene said. I know what it's like to be written off. That sort of thing that he says to her earlier. But you know what? Don't fuck. I know, but just, I trust them. You trust them. Okay, fine. And then she's remembering childhood traumas because she had to do that to talk a non-existent Yumiko down. So then she invents a protector, So it escalates, and they're not there. That's the thing. They're not there to talk her down that ledge. Really there.
Does she come out of the boxcar and attempt to leave? I know Ezekiel's not really there. Yeah. Let me rephrase.
Yes.
She actually leaves.
Yes.
Okay. And then she decides to come back. Okay. All right. Here's my next question. Where the hell are the soldiers? How is no one seeing her do this? Because then she goes right back to the train car and has her little conversation with soldier dude, and then everyone's right outside the train car.
That's a really good point.
Then they're right there.
Could you
so are they just watching her?
Now I'm just imagining this, like, what the fuck is this? And then they watch her go to the end and talk to the actual walkers that are there, by the way.
Right. Are they just watching this whole thing happen?
I'm just picturing this right now. Remember the vantage point of where they are. They're like way back by the building. They're seeing Princess running in the distance. all
In
the
a
way
little
off screen.
pink jacket.
Like the camera, it's a static shot, and you're just seeing Princess walk like in a it's like a Wes Anderson shot, you know?
Oh.
It's a wide shot of Princess just running across the screen, just like that, with the train car like in perfect parallel, and then all of a sudden you see her running back. Just running back across the street the other way, going back into the fucking car.
Yeah.
Should we stop this? And they're like, no. They're already there with Yumiko, Eugene, and they're like, I don't know. I think this is part of the plan. Because remember, this is Lance Hornsby. She's like, don't do anything. Yeah. I got this. She's fucking like, she's crazy.
What if they were there the whole time? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they were there when she came out of the train car. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. The gun's not loaded. Just let her do her thing, and then she'll come back and spill the beans, right?
Yeah, that was another thing. I did wonder if the gun was loaded.
I don't know. Because if the gun wasn't loaded, why would he hit her?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
it's loaded.
I just got a comment from the bedroom. Eric makes a good point here. We were talking about the soldiers being right outside the train car and Princess running away and coming back and everything. And he says the soldier guy clicked his radio on, so we know people were listening, but it could also double as a signal to like come over. Like if they weren't right there, bring the other captors here and I'm gonna get it out of her, whatever it is, information. Right. I guess.
So all he's saying is they're not there, watching this happen or running. But now I just like kind of want that to have happened because it's just funnier.
Right?
Yo, we saw that like in that episode in season 11. It'll be like, yo, we saw you running across. We're just like, should we stop her? Like, nah, she crazy.
I want to see I want to see two of the Commonwealth soldiers like with their helmets off. They're having a cigarette, and all of a sudden they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Commonwealth lights. That's what I want to see on the cigarette.
One's drinking a Fueller's beer.
Right. Exactly. That's where it comes from, right? Yeah. Now, if they don't do that, I'm going to be so disappointed. Because here's the thing. This is what I was trying to say before. We have to kind of roll it back from Princess having like some of this mental illness, right? Because now when she does something funny, are we going to be like, oh, no, we have to kind of laugh a little bit too. Like, and we're not laughing at her. We're laughing at look at me when I mentioned my mom's a fucking liar. I'm laughing because I obviously don't mean it. But like, if you're thinking I have a mental illness, first of all, why do I have a podcast? I shouldn't. This is just parading somebody with mental illness on. No, but we have to dial it back. We're going to be challenged now to think like, okay, is this part of her personality or is this part of the mental illness? It's a challenge. Like, as much as you want to touch on the topic, there has to be something from like a Wes Anderson scene where she just runs across and you can allow yourself to laugh at the moment. Yeah. Like maybe they don't know how now they do, how mentally ill she is. But like at the same time, that shit's funny. Just with a gun in tow, like
right.
You can see it now. It's just like she looks like Big Bird with
and her coat's bouncing up because it's fluffy and her hair's all
right. And she's leading from the chest too, so her butt's like behind her. Her legs are kind of behind her as she runs. Yeah, you can see it right now. Yeah.
I can.
Did you see Nisa's comment? # release the soldier's cut.
Yes.
I agree. Angela King, release the soldier's cut.
Then Charity says, should we stop her from beating his ass? Nah, that guy's a dick. He eats jam out of the jar with his fingers.
Nice one, Charity.
Yeah, he deserves to get his ass kicked for that.
It's not even the beat. Yeah, it's not even the beating. It's just the idea that like, oh, she's got a gun. Should we stop her? Nah, it's not even loaded. Just let her do her thing.
Right. That makes me think the gun's not loaded. Otherwise, why are they letting him get his ass kicked?
But we're also assuming that this scene exists because we salt and peppered it so much that we think it's real.
Right. And maybe that didn't even happen. Like I at this point I have no idea what's real in this episode and what's not. Let's just be honest.
Now that we've had our fun. Okay, let's just close the book on this part. The moment isn't real, obviously, but she actually does go to the gate because as she's walking away, we see the real walkers that were there. It looks like walkers that were shackled together, much in the way a stocks would be, right? Mm-hmm, but it's it's a rail board and like rail spike. Those are the real walkers. The ones she dressed up in her mind were different.
Did you hear him talking to her?
Not talking to her, but I remember the one thing the one walker says at the end, which was he echoes what she says. Come back for me. He says, come back for me. When she says that they came back for me.
Yeah. I thought he said, come back to me. But yeah, same thing. Come back to me, yeah.
I thought that was so creepy. But it's such like if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it because it's so faint. And it's not in the subtitles too.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Because I had to ask Sharon if she heard it too. She's like, I thought I heard. Yeah, we both kind of freaked out a little.
I think the only thing that I like after all this is that like just before he opens the car and reveals Yumiko, Eugene, and Ezekiel, the real ones, I love that line that he delivered. First of all, he delivers a slew of information before the end because obviously during the argument with Ezekiel / Princess, he says things like, for the benefit of all and all who seek solace at our gates, and we're careful because we have a lot to lose. And I started thinking about like the CRM also, like what a stark difference from this group. The Commonwealth can make themselves known and do it on purpose to build their community. They just have to go through a filter process. And it's not as if they won't make themselves known. If you get close to their walls, they'll eliminate you, or they'll assess the threat level and let you in. So different from CRM. CRM is cloak and dagger. Nothing gets through our gates. We choose, and if we do choose, we're choosing you for a purpose. Everybody else is reproducing. Or whatever. It's good to know because like the sayings that they have, CRM says we are the light. What is it? We are the light.
The last hope.
We are the last light of hope in a dark something.
Yeah.
So they're very like centric. It's all about us. For them, it's like for the benefit of all, not just us. We're the benefit. We got to take care of us because this group is last hope. No, Commonwealth is like for the benefit of all, everyone. Everyone everywhere.
Which sounds a little like Terminus, doesn't it? And they're in a train car.
Good call. I've heard that one before. It is kind of scary because doesn't that instantly, if you have been hanging around this long, put you in Princess's mindset? What a hack. Right? Nisa says I'm a goddamn superhero on my own. Yeah, that's true.
That was my favorite line of this episode. That was my favorite line.
Yeah.
The way she says it too. It's so gritty and I just yeah. I mean the line is good, but then the superhero. The way she delivers it just punches it and I love it.
Aren't we all like I don't know. That's a tough one. I say aren't we all, but like who's going to do better for you than you? It's hard to trust other people to do for you what you can do better for yourself. But then you realize you can't do it all on your own.
At least not as much. I mean, you can do a lot on your own, but it's just not realistic to be totally alone.
There's only so much you can do. And if you were totally alone, Daryl, the best you're going to do is survive.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not a life. And Princess knows that. Look at how eager she is to see people again. She gets it right away. And also, that's all she's ever wanted, too. She's all she's ever wanted was somebody to acknowledge that she means something, that she matters in this world. Not many people have shown her that. We mentioned this before, obviously, but like her mother says, she was just trying to survive. She was scared, blah, blah, blah. And it actually brought me back because I'd been thinking about this quote a lot, like how that clip that we have about killing kids in the apocalypse. Like for some reason I thought of what it must mean to survive. Let's say you are a mom and what you have to do to survive is endure the stepdad who is occasionally really, really harsh with your daughter. And you're just putting up with the abuse and blah, 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 and you're going along with it. Sharon actually brought up the scene with MASH, and this is from our episode 100 retrospective. It was one of the parts. And she mentioned that scene in MASH with Hawkeye remembering the details of what happened on one of his missions. A woman was trying to basically silence what he thought at the time was a clucking chicken on a bus in order to not be detected by the enemy, right? Turns out later on, he finds out that it was her own child, her own screaming child. And it was so traumatizing that he buried it in the recesses of memory. But it made me feel bad for her mom also, a little bit. Because it's very easy to put a lot of the blame on the mom for putting her daughter through this. But I like the fact that Princess gets it right away. She was just trying to survive. She's a survivor. I get it. I know why she did it. And I think about like the killing kids in the apocalypse, like killing the stupid ones kind of thing. But let's just play that scenario out to its conclusion, right? the morality experiment is as follows. If killing the crying baby saves your entire group, then you have to kill the baby. It's a matter of utilitarianism. It's a terrible thing to do, but if you don't do it, everybody dies. And it's supposed to be one of those, you're not really supposed to pick a side because there's no good answer. But it is kind of running the thought experiments on the different modes of philosophy, different modes of ethics, right? Do you kill the baby? Well, why wouldn't you kill a baby? You'd save all these lives. It's not a great experiment, but it made me think of like, what if you had a kid in the apocalypse and you had to kill it, right? Like, but what happens after the experiment? It's not as if you kill the baby and you've not only snuffed out a life, but let's forget about the experiment. You've put tremendous amount of personal mental anguish for the sake of everybody else's life. Because what happens afterwards, you don't forget about that moment. I'm sure her mom didn't think one day after she finally probably perished that what she had to make her daughter endure for the sake of the marriage, for the sake of the household, blah, blah, blah. And the cost to her personal humanity that it cost to have her daughter get beaten up on.
I can't think of a situation, being a mom, I can't think of a situation where anything would be worth my child taking a beating from someone I'm choosing to have in my life.
Right.
That's the other thing.
Right.
This isn't a biological father. This is a stepfather. He don't need to be there.
Right.
She's making a choice. So I can't say that it, for me personally, I don't think there is a situation that would exist that I would allow that, but I can't speak for everybody.
And it's hard to say when you actually know it exists, right? Like that,
right.
It may be alien to you, right? And
yeah.
Look, it's not to say that I haven't been in a similar kind of situation. I don't have a kid. That's a whole other addition to the coin that makes it hard for me to believe, but it happens. First of all, Nisa says, "We are the last light of the world. We are the last hope."
Mm-hmm.
She also says, she always mostly had only herself to count on. And I love that she brought up the Hamilton quote. "I am the only thing in my life I can control." Aaron Burr in Hamilton's "Wait for It." Reminds me of Princess. I like her response to the ethics questions. I'll give it to the person next to me and say, "You do it."
Yeah.
Like, nah, it has to be you.
In that situation, doing nothing is also a choice. To do nothing still is going to result in people dying. So somebody has to do something.
Right? It's a terrible choice.
It is.
But in the end, you realize neither of which are good choices. You snuffed out a life. You have to live with that life after all these people survive. So
Yep.
it's not a good choice.
I
keep thinking about anybody who's willing to kill kids in the apocalypse, like a funny quote like that. I was just like, oh my God, I don't think you understand the cost. That's why it was like so awkward. I'm like, oh, well, let's lean in now. The cat's out of the bag, or the child's out of the sack. I don't know. Anyway, in response to the Commonwealth soldiers, do cities and countries even matter anymore?
Yeah.
And that made me think of our conversation with Aim for the Head podcast and Brains Gone Bad. Mm-hmm. It was the one big point of consternation that Steve had from Aim for the Head. And he was like, yeah, I don't know where we are. Like, it just doesn't feel like they're not letting us know as much as they should about where we're at. And I'm like, I think they're trying to make a point.
Right.
Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, if we're going by old rules, sure, but who cares about the old rules? There's nobody here. There's nobody around anymore. So Princess actually brings it back and says, do cities and countries even matter anymore? And I'm like, yeah. I like that. There's a little continuity there to what I said was the explanation of why it doesn't matter where they are. Yeah. Okay, you're generally past the Mississippi River. Okay, you're in a place that used to be called New York. Big whoop. You're like, okay. I mean, I get it. It's a good thing but I think when you don't know, there's a reason why you don't know. I think it's a general statement on why that is. Okay, so gun to your head. Do you think the interviewee was Lance Hornsby and Lance Hornsby is still real, or it was the last guy?
My gut is saying that the shadowy Lance is Lance. She just
is still Lance. Yeah.
She just doesn't remember what he looks like.
So it's not going to be the same actor, or it's the same actor, but he won't be as scary.
I think.
Hi, I'm Lance Hornsby.
I think it'll still be him, but this was her way of remembering him. Yeah, she was intimidated at the moment, and so this is how he appeared to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and that makes perfect sense because one of the things that we said is he never really wears the armor, right, which is why he looks so ridiculous in her memory. So maybe
he doesn't even have it on.
Okay.
Maybe she pictured him in it.
In some ridiculous version of it.
Yeah.
This is our big hang up. It was like, he's never in armor in the comics.
Right.
Again, all of these things coming together made me think of like, oh, it is real, but it's not real.
Yeah.
It is real, but it's an exaggerated version in her head.
I keep going back to what Lynn Collins said on Talking Dead about Find Me, but I know she was only referring to that episode, but now I feel like I'm applying it to everything. And she's like, not everything is as it seems. Yes. And I'm like, maybe this isn't what we think.
Leah
I'm going
is
crazy.
Lance Hornsby. It's Leah Hornsby, right?
It's Leah Hornsby.
Which is, it makes perfect sense why we thought of it. Yeah, we had it in the back of our minds. Our brain was trying to work something out. This is why we brought up that episode again in the first place.
Right? I feel like this episode's been half about Find Me and half about Splinter.
Well, a good 1/5 of it was Find Me.
A good chunk.
We needed to fill the time out because we needed a 2-hour episode again, right?
I'm always here to talk about Daryl and Carol.
I'm always here to give you guys a 2-hour episode.
We could give them a 4-hour episode. We've done that before.
Wait, hold on a second. Charity says, "Find Me" was how Splinter found the group to begin their training. She means I think she means the Ninja Turtles.
Yes, yeah.
That would be funnier. I did want to make one more funny, and that was in the subtitles when she gets the Splinter as she's pulling away the imaginary board.
Yeah.
She says the subtitle says "speak Spanish." The subtitle says "speaks Spanish."
Nice.
She says "coño." Says "coño." They couldn't write the swear. They couldn't even write what she said in Spanish on the screen because "coño" means pussy.
Right.
I thought I laughed because in the first watch I don't put subtitles on. I don't.
Really?
So on the second watch I'm like, "Speak Spanish." She said "coño."
Right. You're like, nope.
I thought that was.
I can hear it.
Nah, bitch. This is going to my notes, bitch. Coño's a pretty dirty word. C-O-N-N with the tilde O, and then I wrote quote unquote pussy. It's literally like what you call somebody derogatorily. Oh yeah, okay. It's like in Fear when Nick says "fuck," and that's not what's in the subtitles. That's funny. Or when the soldier said "switchyard," but it's not in the subtitles. Mm-hmm. What are they trying to say? What are you trying to say? Leah's not real.
Is that a job?
Lance Hornsby's Leah.
How do I get that job? I want to be the subtitle person. Do they get paid? Is that voluntary based?
Charity. RJ isn't real. This is. Oh man. This is Rachel. This is the interview process for the subtitle job. Squawking Dead isn't real. Squawking Dead isn't real. This was one long interview.
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
It makes you think it was 2 years long. No, it's really 2 hours. Very long interview.
It's only been 2 hours, so it's still 2018. Wait, 2019.
Yeah, still 20. You still have time to right the wrongs.
I forget about 2020. I seriously, is it 2018?
And of course, to illustrate the lack of passage of time, Nisa says again, "Anyway, another boring episode we spent no time talking about."
Right, totally boring.
She said this exactly in the last episode.
Yeah.
Not the last, the Find Me episode.
Find me.
Do you remember? Yeah, that was so funny.
So boring.
Oh, we'd never really addressed that, but I can see why people would say, to this episode. I can see it. Because you know what? Like, there are always going to be people in this universe, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, I don't really care about them. And it's not because you don't care about the show. Like, so you're like, I don't like scenes they're in. And so if Princess happens to be one of those people, I can see people going, first of all, it's a bottle episode.
Oh, yeah, very much.
It's a bottle episode.
Very much.
It's a character-focused bottle episode. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like the character, if the show doesn't work hard enough to get you to like that character, it's a disaster for you.
I can see people being upset with this episode after finding out all the scenes with Yumiko and Eugene and Ezekiel aren't real. I could see people being upset about that.
And that's in addition to, right? Because nobody likes the "it was all a dream" scenario. Nobody likes that.
Nobody does.
I mean, that back then it's clever, right? Like, it was the Bob Newhart show that like introduced that metric, which was a terrible way to end the series. I think it was. Oh, the whole show wasn't real. Oh my God.
What a waste of my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nisa brings up a good point, but they're saying that about all the episodes.
These bonuses?
And to a certain extent, look, I somewhat agree with them. Okay. The problem is everything has to be in context. Everything has to be in context. These episodes were episodes you would not have gotten anyway.
Right.
So one could say, then why tell them? I'm like, well, don't you want to know? Don't you want a little extra? Don't you want a little bonus episode? And this is the hypocrisy of people who say this, because I say, I don't really care about the past. I don't really want a pre-apocalypse flashback. Everybody rails against me and says, no, we want flashbacks. You realize if you're going to get the flashbacks, they're not going to be half as interesting as what goes on post-apocalypse. This is like that. Dude, you're getting in between the lines. You're getting character development. This is also something I said about pure character development. If it's not going anywhere, this is exactly what I said. If it doesn't go anywhere, people are going to get mad. And I get that. This is that episode.
Yeah.
We moved an inch. We moved literally an inch in this episode, and we got a shit ton of we got a J.R.R. Tolkien chapter. You know,
yeah.
We read 30 pages of this one chapter, and we didn't go anywhere. So I get it. I understand it. I disagree with it, but I understand it, because if you're not thinking in context of bonus episode, then it's gonna feel like, but we didn't go anywhere.
I've been looking at these episodes, like you said, they're bonuses. First of all, we never would have gotten these episodes anyway. So first of all, I'm just like, woohoo, yay! I don't care what it is, woohoo! I also look at these episodes as like an apology for making us wait for the 10 finale for so long. Like, sorry guys, here, have some candy. Sorry.
Here's some cake.
Yeah.
Have a lolly.
Yeah. So, and I went into these bonuses knowing full well that it's not going to move the storyline forward. Honestly, I was even surprised this episode was in there. I told Eric, I said, I don't think we're going to see Commonwealth soldiers at all in these bonuses, because this isn't about what's going to happen. It's about what's happening. So
really, we're not really sure if we did.
Yeah, and I could, yeah, exactly. I mean, we still didn't really see them, did we? I'm taking these episodes for what they are. They're just bonuses. Don't complain. Do you complain when you get the extra chicken nugget in your Happy Meal? No, I don't think so. No. You just eat it. You don't tell anybody.
Well, it's more like, okay, but if the chicken nugget isn't really nugget and it's really just the skin and it's just like the fried part, it's good. It's not a nugget, but it's good. You're still eating it, right?
And are you going to take it back and complain about it? No, because it was free. You got it before you paid for.
I understand. Okay, I get it. I feel you. Even, okay, you can't tell me that when you saw the end of that episode, you're like, oh, really? Really? Like what? Really?
There was a bit of a shock, yes.
Because it was over. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only real time you saw them. I mean, aside from the beginning part.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. I mean, Nisa's like, I got an extra chicken nugget. Damn, I'm going to go complain on IG.
Yeah. I mean, that's life now, isn't it?
Okay. I get the feeling. I don't get the action. That's the thing. On the other hand, I will say this. I'm trying to give a silver lining to this whole thing. If we didn't know how people felt, like, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the way we felt, right? Yeah, there is a part of us that feels, like, oh, is that it? Oh, shit. I mean, it's nice to get the character development, but like, we didn't go anywhere. What a stark contrast the last episode was to this one. We got character development. We moved a little bit more than an inch. We feel like we might have gone somewhere. We went through at least a character journey, right? Here, we sort of did go through a character journey in a lot smaller span of time with what we don't know were people that existed. Maybe the soldiers, maybe not. Definitely not our compatriots, right? But then again, we only focused on one person. At least with Aaron being there was a foil, like a little backboard to slam Gabe off of, right? There was like a little sounding board, right? An echo. He's talking to someone, not himself. So there's a little bit more of a payoff. You see this character actually reveal himself. And you do see that with Princess too. But again, it's just the one person. When you find out it was all a dream, you're like, oh, and then now they're in black hoods. I get it. I get the feeling. I feel like, oh, it was all a dream, and now we're one step closer.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing was one step.
Yeah.
So anyway, but if not for loud, annoying people, we wouldn't know how to rationally respond to that feeling that we have, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little thankful for them. I feel like the internet's is like sentient, right? It's like sentient. It's an angry single entity, right?
Mm-hmm. You are not wrong.
I like this episode. There are.
Me too.
It's okay to like most of the episode and not like, certain things like, I wish it wasn't over this quickly. I wish there was a little bit more to it. I wish it was more of a payoff for all of this anguish, right? Because it's not fun to see somebody suffering. You do want a little bit of a payoff. And instead, we're not sure that she's getting rewarded in this last scene for this triumph, right?
Still not sure.
Which would be typical TWD, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't usually like bottle episodes like this, but I really, really enjoyed this one. I mean, episodes like this usually make me mad and I'm like, what's happening with everybody else? But no, it kept me so interested. I didn't even realize that I was watching a bottle episode,
I love bottle episodes, actually. I love them. I will say that if I had to compare bottle episodes to this bottle episode, I don't like this one, actually. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't either. I'm just I'm just saying of the bottle episodes I've seen. And this is not like you can like something but not like it as a bottle episode. Like you like something and appreciate something or not. Again, I'm not telling you how to feel.
Opposite.
I'm just saying I get the feeling. I'll say this much. If I didn't get this episode, I would be upset. I like this episode because I like knowing about the character. I like putting flesh on the bone of this character. I kind of wanted to know how crazy literally she was, or if it is something more than that. And I'm glad I know now,
Yeah.
And this also is a good setup for when we do move into this universe. We have a lot of front-loaded knowledge now into the kind of person that she is and the struggles that she's been through. And so I'm not going to complain about getting more TWD. Not at all.
Right.
This is one of those opportunities to go places you can't go if you're doing a regular series, because you do need to take like almost a Game of Thrones inventory of where everybody's been and not focus too much on one character, because then you will lose the interest of the crowd. But having that lowered expectation incorrectly, because obviously people are complaining, but having hopefully a lowered expectation means you can tell a story that you wouldn't know. Like they said right from the beginning, we can tell story that we wouldn't normally tell under normal circumstances. That's exactly what they said. We took this as an opportunity to tell the stories a different way because these are bonus episodes.
And I'm loving it.
Yeah, and Sharon D was like, see, and I'm okay. Sharon D was like, I was kind of meh about it. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I get it. You're entitled. But having the expectation of it being a bonus episode makes it a little okay. Like, oh, yeah, you're right. It's, like, oh, it's a filler. It's a bonus. We got content. We got richness. We got a tapestry. It's not a bad episode, in and of itself. But, would I've preferred a richer, more storied episode that has movement. And Nisa, the other reaction, it was for me like as exciting as a Locke-centric episode from Lost was for me. Yeah, and of course, I loved last week so much more too, Sharon D. Again, because there was a back.
Last week was meh for me.
Really? You never really said that. Okay, but why do you feel that way?
Just didn't grab me.
Was it maybe the way it went out?
No real reason. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoy any episode. I just wasn't doing backflips for it.
Not enough shock and awe for you? More blood!
You definitely know how I felt about Father Gabriel after the episode, so that was kind of my ending feeling. I was just like, dude, the fuck? So that was sort of my impression of the episode. Yeah. What the fuck?
They leave you wanting more, but like not in a good way. I can get that. Like it's like, oh, what was that all about? Like, well, now what are we supposed to think about him? I get that. So maybe almost in the same... Again, it's in the same realm of what I'm talking about. It's a lot of character development, but like, where are we now that we know about this? What does all this mean? And even with Princess, you can say the same thing. Like, okay, we have a general sense of she there is a finality. She puts her faith in the group. We don't know if she's rewarded, but at least we know that's what this was all for. It was her unlearning what she knew for all her life, trusting the group.
Next Sunday's episode is 1021 Diverged, and well, obviously everyone's going to watch it, but I think everyone should also watch Talking Dead afterwards.
Because of...
might just be a good idea to watch Talking Dead after.
Yes, I highly recommend... Listen, if you've not been watching Talking Dead, you really should be.
Especially next weekend. It's just a great show, and I think everyone should watch it, especially next Sunday.
I think it's a good idea. If you're not watching Talking Dead in general, but especially next week, I think you might be a bad person to say.
Confirmed. Bad person.
Confirmed. I mean, all the other times, fine, I'll let you get away with it. But next week, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you watch it? I mean, it's gone on this long. I mean, we didn't even have one person or walker be killed in this episode. And they talked about it. They'd had an in memoriam for in memoriams. Let's start off the next week. Listen, let's start over. Watch Talking Dead next week. Please watch Talking Dead next week.
Yeah.
And Charity says evil people are the rule. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
don't be evil. Watch Talking Dead next week. If you like what you've heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, or make our job easier, make your night a lot smoother. Give us 5 stars in Eggplant, and we'll know that you love us. It's a good way of communicating what you like, what you don't like, what you think we could be doing better. Everything helps. Any hate helps, likes helps, whatever. Just rate us at ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. And if you really like what we do, just head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, create an account, and follow us. And then you'll know what we're up to behind the scenes, because we don't post on social media when we're recording. But if you really want to join in the conversation, buy us a coffee. It's $3. That will give you access to our supporter back content for 30 days. And if you really like us, really like us, you could subscribe to a coffee per month or more. I'm not stopping you. And the party just keeps on rolling. We just released our ringtone, which we announced in the pre-show, but we didn't announce officially in the episode. Our ringtone is the music that you heard at the beginning of this podcast that will loop perfectly as your ringtone.
Yeah, there we go. Mine's not gonna loop either.
If you have bought us a coffee in the last 30 days, that is for free. Go ahead and grab it. It's in the timeline, and it's also in the coffee shop, but it's in the timeline for you to download for free. But if you haven't bought us a coffee, buying it in the coffee shop on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead will entitle you to 30 days of access of supported back content for free anyway. So join us in the episodes, get that ringtone, get the unedited episode that airs right after this. We're going to upload that soon. Now you're listening to it, so why wouldn't you? Last but not least, we're going to sign off by saying, watch Talking Dead next week. It's a really special episode. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We're not even going to say goodbye.
Good.
We're not saying goodbye. We're saying, watch Talking Dead next week. Bye.
Do it. Bye.